Welcome to this edition of Identity Blocks Blockchain Trends. So, guys, to start, we're gonna since the White House stream is 30 minutes away, we're gonna listen to Powell talk from today.
Production. So please join me in welcoming Chair Powell back to the U.S. Monetary Policy.
Let's see how this goes. This one's like 20 minutes long only.
Thanks very much, Anil. It's great to be here and see a lot of familiar faces. I'm glad that it turns out we don't actually have a majority of the FOMC here, so we can speak to each other without violating the Government of Sunshine Law. So I have some brief remarks about the economy and the path of policy, and then I look forward to our discussion. Despite elevated levels of uncertainty, the U.S. economy continues to be in a good place. The labor market is solid, and inflation has moved closer to our 2% longer run goal. At the Fed, we are intently focused on our dual mandate goals given to us by Congress: maximum employment and stable prices.
Let me forward to his actual conversation. Yeah, here you go. Sorry, guys, it's just Yahoo has a bunch of commercials.
Moderation in consumer spending relative to the rapid growth over the second half of 2024. Further, recent surveys of households and businesses point to heightened uncertainty about the economic outlook. It remains to be seen how these developments might affect future spending and investment. Sentiment readings have not been a good predictor of consumption growth in recent years. We continue to carefully monitor a variety of indicators of household and business spending. Turning to the labor market, many indicators show that the labor market is solid and broadly in balance. The jobs report released this morning showed employers added 151,000 jobs to payrolls in February, and the unemployment rate ticked up 0.1% to 4.1% last month. Smoothing over the month-to-month volatility since September, employers have added a solid 200,000 jobs a month on average. The unemployment rate remains low and is held in a narrow range between 3.9% and 4.2% over the past year. The jobs to workers gap has narrowed, and the quits rate has moved below pre-pandemic levels. Wages are growing faster than inflation and at a more sustainable pace than earlier in the pandemic recovery. With wage growth moderating and labor supply and demand having moved into better balance, the labor market is not a significant source of inflationary pressure. For inflation has come down a long way from its mid-2022 peak above 7%, without a sharp increase in unemployment. A historically unusual and most welcome outcome. While progress in reducing inflation has been broad-based, recent readings remain somewhat above our 2% objective. The path to sustainably returning inflation to our target has been bumpy, and we expect that to continue. We see ongoing progress in categories that remain elevated, such as housing services and the market-based components of non-housing services. Inflation can be volatile month to month, and we do not overreact to one or two readings that are higher or lower than anticipated. Data released last week show that total PCE prices rose 2.5% over the 12 months ending in January, and that core PCE rose 2.6%. We pay close attention to a broad range of measures of inflation expectations, and some near-term measures have recently moved up. We see this in both market and survey-based measures, and survey respondents, both consumers and businesses, are mentioning tariffs as a driving factor. Beyond the next year or so, however, most measures of longer-term expectations remain stable and consistent with our 2% inflation goal. Looking ahead, the new administration is in the process of implementing significant policy changes in 4 distinct areas: trade, immigration, fiscal policy, and regulation. It is the net effect of these policy changes that will matter for the economy and for the path of monetary policy. While there have been recent developments in some of these areas, especially trade policy, uncertainty around the changes and their likely effects remains high. As we parse the incoming information, we are focused on separating the signal from the noise as the outlook evolves. We do not need to be in a hurry, and we are well positioned to wait for greater clarity. Policy is not on a preset course. If the economy remains strong, but inflation does not continue to move sustainably toward 2%, we can maintain policy restraint for longer. If the labor market were to weaken unexpectedly or inflation were to fall more quickly than anticipated, we can ease policy accordingly. Our current policy stance is well positioned to deal with the risks and uncertainties that we face in pursuing both sides of our mandate. Before I conclude, I'll note that at our last FOMC meeting, we began our second 5-year review of our monetary policy framework. We will consider changes to our consensus statement and to our communications as part of this review. The consensus statement articulates our framework for the conduct of monetary policy in pursuit of our statutory goals. We will consider the lessons of the past 5 years and adapt our approach where appropriate to best serve the American people to whom we are accountable. The 2% longer run inflation goal will be retained and is not a focus of the review. This public review will be familiar to those who followed our process 5 years ago. We will hold outreach events around the country involving a range of parties, including Fed Listens events. We're open to new ideas and critical feedback. We will host a research conference in Washington in May. Our intent is to wrap up the review by late summer. Thank you very much. I look forward to your questions. Danielle.
In today's complex
Your questions,
operating
but
environment,
it's the preset questions as usual, of course. So, guys, we're 25 minutes away from the White House Digital Assets Summit. So, get excited. I hope you're pumped because this is not a common event.
All right. Thanks for that. Before we get into the current conjuncture, is there anything more you can share about where you think the framework is going to land? It was nice to hear the parameters that you laid out, but is there anything more that you can say beyond what you just?
Sure. So I said there are two things really. There's changes to the consensus statement, and they're looking at really our post-meeting communications. We're going to look at those two things a lot. And as it relates to the consensus statement, which is also known as the Statement on Longer Run Goals and Monetary Policy, therefore it needed a shorter name, we are going to be looking a lot at the changes that we made in 2020. So if you go back to 2020, what we had was we'd been at the effective lower bound for 7 years. We never got rates above 2%. We were at 1.5% when the pandemic hit. And the feeling very much was that if even a mild downturn came, we'd be back to the effective lower bound, maybe again for years on end. So we were looking for ways to try to minimize the likelihood of that. And a pretty standard result in the research was a kind of a makeup strategy. That's what that was. So the framework changes that we made were very focused on the importance of the effective lower bound problem, which was thought to be the big problem at the time. And those were the changes that we made. So, and we thought that those issues would be persistent, but the universe had other ideas. And the pandemic arrived just a few months after we implemented the framework, and really changed the whole mixture. And effectively the idea of an overshoot, of a modest overshoot or moderate overshoot of inflation really became irrelevant, and we were back to the regular framework, and we did what we did, and you have the results today. So I think we'll be looking at, for example, the focus in the consensus statement. We'll be looking at the focus that we had on the effective lower bound. It's probably not the base case anymore, but it's probably still relevant. We'll be looking at shortfalls, which is an interesting idea, and there are different ways to express that. And we'll be certainly will also be looking at the idea of having a moderate overshoot of inflation over the 2% target following periods when inflation has been low. We're looking at all of those things, and again, I expect to be done, by the end of the summer. On the communications, particularly our post-meeting communications, we're going to take a close look at the SEP and also compare ourselves to what other central banks around the world do. And this will be a couple of weeks from now. We'll have our second meeting, and I think we'll be done in time for sort of the end of the summer.
Yeah, that's great. Let me pick up on this question about the level of prices versus the inflation rate. Economists spend a lot of time making the distinction between the rate of change and the level. I'm not sure that the public fully understands this, because you see these surveys about how frustrated people are with inflation. Inflation now is not that different than your target. It's above, but not meaningfully so. But do
you see what
think
they do
that
there?
price stability needs to
So
take
the
into
definition
account
of
how far you
inflation
wear,
has shifted.
away from
The
the
basket
objective, and if you've had a big
of inflation
run-up
has shifted.
and the level remains high, even if the inflation rate is back to normal, is that something we need to reconsider?
The public experience, what the public experiences is the prices of things. And the prices of things went up a lot in 2021 and 22, and to some extent in 23. And when we talk about inflation, we're obviously talking about the rate of change now. But the public's not wrong. They are experiencing high prices, and obviously you can have a great labor market, but if people are really struggling because of high prices, that's what they're really going to feel. So they're right about what they're saying. In terms of, I don't think there's any need to redefine price stability. I think you can always go back to the way Alan Greenspan said it. I won't get the exact words, but everyone here knows the idea is if businesses and households are making their economic decisions without having to consider the possibility of high inflation, that's price stability. I don't think we need to rethink inflation, the way we deal with it. I don't think we need to reinvent price stability. So,
okay. Okay, the elephant in the room. Economists normally assume that a tariff is passed into domestic prices, and as the Secretary of Treasury said yesterday, that would change the level of prices once, but wouldn't mean anything for inflation a year later. If we're looking at what happens over the next year, how would we know if the conventional view is not correct and that it's leaked into something more troubling?
So I think that start with the general thought is that if there's a spike in prices that's a one-time thing that is going to go through the economy, then it's not appropriate to react to it, because our policy by design will reduce employment and activity, and it would not have really been needed to be done. So you look through those things if you can. So if you put that in the context of tariffs, I think if you look at where forecasts are, look at the blue chip, look where everybody's forecasting some inflation effect from tariffs. So it's very likely that if tariffs are imposed, and let's remember, we really don't know what's happening yet. We're at a stage where we're still very uncertain about what will be tariffed, for how long, at what level. We're going to have to wait to see all of that. But the likelihood is that some of that will find its way. It'll hit the exporters, the importers, the retailers, and to some extent the consumers, and we'll see what that is. And in a simple case where we know it's a one-time thing, the textbook would say look through it. But I think the situation, you would want to also be sure of a couple of things. One just is that if it turns into a series of things and it's more than that, and if the increases are larger, that would matter. And what really would matter is what's happening with longer term inflation expectations and how persistent are the inflationary effects. You want to look at all of those things, and you'd want to remember the current context, which is we came off of very high inflation, and we haven't fully returned to 2% on a sustainable basis. So you got to put all that in the mix as you make this decision. I would point people back to 2019, when we had the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we had lower immigration, and we had regulatory policy under President Trump in the first regime, and we wound up cutting 3 times because growth weakened so much. So there are many effects of tariffs. And as I pointed out, it's really the effect of all of these policies that matter for our policy. It's not simply what's happening with tariffs. It's what's happening with growth and all the other things as a result of these broad changes in economic policy, not just tariffs.
Okay, just to put a point on this, I think I know what you're going to say, but the usual rule that economists hold is that when an uncertainty is high, we're gradualist. And I'm wondering whether you view that as the right benchmark or anchor to think about.
I view it as the right benchmark or anchor for right now, and that's because the costs of being cautious are very, very low. We're the economy's fine. It doesn't need us to do anything really, and so we can wait and we should wait. I think there are cases where uncertainty is high, where that would not be the case, where the costs of going slow might be high. And those would be, for example, if inflation expectations were clearly under pressure, or if you're at the beginning of the pandemic and uncertainty is unquestionably elevated, but you nonetheless act very aggressively because of the potential cost of not doing so.
Okay, that's interesting. But I'll ask a couple more conjunctural questions, but there's a lot of people in the room here that are very curious about what you want to say about the Basel III endgame. So that's inside baseball, but people's wallets depend on this. So you want to say anything about that?
Sure, absolutely. So our view at the Fed is we very much intend to complete the Basel III endgame. And we think that's very important. We think that the Basel Accords really are important to set sort of minimum standards for international banking around the world. And we expect that we will. We're kind of on hold until the U.S. banking agencies are really back up and running with new leadership. But once they are, we fully expect to get back to that work and complete the Basel III endgame. And I have a good reason to think that we'll be able to do that.
That's good news. Another little bit of inside baseball, but there's been a lot of discussion in the last few weeks about changing some of the statistics that are emphasized about the economy. And the Commerce Department recently disbanded the Federal Economic Statistics Advisory Committee. And I know during COVID, you felt like there were many indicators of the economy that were kind of broken or not so helpful. So do we need to worry about whether the Fed's ability to do its job might come into question because of deficiencies in the statistics? And are you already, let's do that. I'll ask a follow-up.
Yeah, so there's two different things. I think it needs to be said that the government data we get from government gathered data we get from the Bureau of Economic Analysis and the Bureau of Labor Statistics is incredibly important and really the gold standard for data. Being able to track what's going on in the economy is very, very important. And it's something that the United States has led in for a long, long time, and something we need to continue to lead in. It's true that survey responses have gone down and that some of the data have become more volatile. That just means it's something we need to keep doing and invest in. So I think that's important. On the pandemic data, that's a different thing. You needed to measure things like how many people are going to restaurants, how many, you could look at open table data and things like that. So there were lots and lots of pieces of data we were getting about that showed how many people are coming back to work, riding the subway and that kind of thing. And that was important. It turns out all that data isn't super relevant except in an emergency. The other thing is though, at the Fed, we've always, for some time now, we've been, trying to work with these very large data sets that are available in real time now, for example, from credit card companies and things like that. And, trying to use these new and vast data collections in a real time way, is something that's really helpful.
Okay, I was going to ask you about whether or not there's some favorite private sector statistics that you think everybody should be looking at, but it sounds like you've just given us a hint on that. Let me ask a couple longer term questions. I know you're not in the job of reflecting yet, but when we look back at the rise of inflation and then its decline, what do you think the lesson's going to be about what we've just lived through?
Yeah, so I think it's actually still early to say. I think I think the question of what happened and why and what all this questions around that the events of the pandemic and the inflation and the efforts to bring inflation down. Economists are going to be battling over that for long after all of us are gone. But I would say a couple things. One thing is just that the tails are fatter than you think. However fat you think the tails are, they're fatter than you think. And human nature is, we always talk about uncertainty and how we understand everything's highly uncertain. We say it all the time. The tails are fatter than we think. So nobody saw the pandemic coming. Obviously, it wasn't reflected in our framework. When it came, we just went back to the old framework and dealt with it. But it was, there's always possible. That's one thing. Secondly, I think if you look, I talked about this at Jackson Hole last year. If I look back and it looks to me like what you had was a global burst of inflation everywhere at the same time, and it largely, you got to look at global factors, and it amounted to very strong demand, stronger than we thought. I don't think we had, the forecast error was two parts. Part one was demand was just stronger than we thought. It really was. We had in mind, the recovery from the global financial crisis, and instead we got this really high-powered response, expansion, recovery. So the other side is the supply side. The supply side was constrained. We lost 8 million workers, and it took a long time to get them back. And it was also all of the supply stuff that was happening. That took longer than we thought to unsnaggle. And we'd never seen it before. We knew in real time that it was going to be really hard to get that right. But so those two things created inflation globally, and central banks stepped in, and pretty broadly, we're back to close to mandated inflation and employment close to the natural rate, not just in the United States but everywhere. So in a way, the framework worked, but I think we learned some of those lessons, and we'll still be learning them.
Okay, one other question in this direction: that the U.S. has actually had the fastest recovery of all the major economies, and do we understand why that is? And does that? There was a question in the last panel about Y-star and potential growth. Do you think that we are learning something now about what the speed limit for the economy is, or is this just happenstance?
Yeah,
As a marketing consultant, there's no better way to stay connected with your clients and leads than with Honey.
I would put down the U.S.'s outperformance to three things, and the first is just one would be structural characteristics, and that's more flexible labor market, highly developed capital markets, culture of innovation, rule of law, all the things that make this. And we have a venture capital industry. Other countries are trying to do early stage financing out of banks. That's not going to work. So all of those things make us account for 40 years of productivity. That's double Europe's productivity. It increases. So that's thing one. Thing two is just population. We had a big population increase in 22 and 23. And that doesn't help with per capita, but that moves top line. And what was the third thing? Oh, productivity. So we had a really significant burst in productivity, and from a range of factors, you can never tell exactly where it's coming from. Some of those factors suggest, this gets to your last question, suggest that productivity will be kind of a one-time event. So people were wound up automating a lot of functions in retail. And because people didn't want to work in retail anymore, but that may just be a one-time thing. Technological developments, on the other hand, might give us years and years of productivity. So there are a whole bunch of other things, and so we don't really know how long this burst in productivity will be sustained. But I think I never expected to see productivity this high for this long. And our staff is marking up their estimates of potential growth for now and taking some signal about the future. You won't have that population thing going forward, but productivity has been really strong, and I think it does actually raise, at least for the relatively near term, the level of potential output.
Okay, that's good. Okay, 30 years of teaching Booth students, I've learned you have to end these things with a fun question. So who's your favorite central banker? And I'll give you a hall pass on anybody that was on the board while you've been there.
What defines favorite central banker? Living?
Okay, you can constrain to living, or you can specify debt.
Well, I mean, I would have, I don't know. I mean,
Open-ended question.
I'll take the easy route and say Paul Volcker, whom I did know over time, and pretty obviously in central banking, nobody wants to be working in a central bank when inflation is really high, but everybody who works in a central bank knows what they have to do when inflation is high. And he set the gold standard for that. That is the thing. Most of the time, for 40 years, we haven't had to do that. It's just kind of demand management through a regular cycle. But when you have very high inflation and you have to do this, this is why we're independent. It's not for the good times. It's for the times when we're doing something which may be unpopular. That is our assignment. And I think Paul Volcker kind of established that. That was really not quite so clearly established at the time. So I'm going to go with Paul Volcker.
Okay, I'm going to out you on a private conversation, but I don't think you're going to mind too much, which is the Cork Center that hosts this event has a bunch of experts panels of economists where you can go ahead and answer a bunch of questions. They'll tell you who your favorite economist is. And Jay Powell's favorite economist is Anil Kashyap.
Let me tell you, it's a true story, and that was not a happy day. To learn that,
Anyway, well, thank you, and we're so glad that you were able to be here and share your thoughts. And
Great.
So,
Thanks very much.
yeah.
All righty, guys. This looks like it's going to start in the next 10 minutes. So let's have a quick chat on what yeah, let me close this and start that. All right. It is set. Hopefully, hopefully we learn something, right? I mean, it looks like it's going to be a lot of interesting names. There's a lot of FUD from what happened yesterday, right? Just a lot of people were expecting the strategic reserve to just be a blank check. Basically, the U.S. just saying, yeah, we're gonna spend all this money to buy 1 million units. So I mean, we've been discussing this probably since the first time they discussed this, when it was Bobby Kennedy, the first one to start mentioning this maybe 6 months ago, and other candidates that have been bringing these type of proposals. But we kept telling everyone that it just sounded way too good to be true, and just to be patient and see what was going to be the actual proposal. Because as we have been mentioning in the last couple of years, all these bills can be changed, amended, or just, right, I mean, not even see the light of day, because they're just proposals, right? They're just a couple of people bringing a proposal, they discuss it with the other politicians, and then either they like it or not, it's going to even see a vote, right? So there's a chance that they come up with bills that don't even see a vote, right? So it's good. It's good that we cover some of the changes and test the waters, like people say, and see how this is especially affecting us in DeFi, right? I mean, what's bigger than this right now, right? There's just going to be a lot of people being distracted, by, I don't know, like Keebler elves, like playing pirate cosplay type of stuff. Like, do you really want to be doing that at the time of major changes? You probably don't. So just but at the same time, it's just not everybody makes it, right? Not everybody pays attention to the right people, and some people get lost in I don't know, lost in the weeds or something. I don't know how to explain it. But not everybody's not everybody's gonna see the same things that we do. That's why, like, for example, today I keep hearing people that they assume that um, folks need to be getting likes or clicks or that type of interaction for their content to be valuable. And then that's where I lose a bunch of people. They're like double digit IQs, so they can't comprehend that you can buy this engagement, but it would be fake. So I don't want to buy fake engagement. I've never done that. That's what other influencers do. And they'll get thousands of fake views of people that don't buy their assets because they're not even engaged in crypto. They're not engaged in our community. It's just fake views. It's very simple to see it on the commentary and stuff like that. People that get like 5,000, 3,000 views, but then they get the same amount of comments that I get. But I get like 50 views. But my 50 views are organic. Like I know who you 50 guys are, and we're hanging either at the militia or then some of the guys from the Spanish group. And plus, it's never been my intention. That's why I mute so many people and how I block so many people, because I just don't want people's toxicity and mindset and all these incorrect habits to infect my inner circle. And it's been working that way. It's been working really good. So if Richard would have done that in August of 2022, we would be in a very different situation now. But he wanted to like interact with BitBoy and all that shit, and we miss opportunities. Is all that it is. We'll do better in a couple months. Alrighty, guys. It looks like this is 2 minutes. 2-minute call. So get your popcorn ready. There's a lot of big names. The only name I couldn't confirm, and I saw it was CC Binance. So maybe he's there, but I couldn't see him on any of the confirmed list. Just a rumor online. All right, we're just here waiting now. Oh man, what's up with crypto? Crypto says he's got the popcorn ready. That's what's up, man. I love it. I'm pumped, bro. I don't know why, man. This week I've been so pumped, and everybody's like so bearish. I love it. Everybody's like all thinking about bear market, down cycle, all this BS. I'm like, nah, man. I don't have time for that. No time to FUD the bags. Pink Kombucha dice, muchos cambios. By end of summer. Ya lo dijo varias veces. Vamos a ver lo que pasa. La verdad que no. Yeah, I just don't. I guess kombucha is just saying tons of changes by the end of the summer. Let's see what happens. I'm just not paying attention to that stuff. I'm just paying attention to what I can control, and it's better that way.
Everything we ever dreamed.
Oh, no commercials. Sorry, guys. Good deal. No, I'm still waiting, guys. The nope, nothing yet. Well, I guess this is a live shot. Let me just leave it there, and we'll. They show up. They show up. No, I don't know if there's audio though. There's audio. I'm gonna think about it. Can you guys hear me though? Let's see. Yeah, live. Yeah, I guess there's no audio. It's just like just a live feed, no audio. We'll keep waiting. Punctuality is not it's not a thing for some politicians. Plus, I'm sure there's a bunch of fluffing each other's bags behind the scenes, if you know what I mean. Man, we need DeFi in the room though. It was sad. I mean, I checked the list. It's not a pretty list for DeFi guys. I mean, it was a recipe for disaster if you ask me, because I mean, between the centralized exchanges, between the centralized stable coins, they are the ones that are going to take main stage here. So Paulo Ardoino from Tether is going to be there. Jamie Allaire from USDC and Circle is going to be there. Surprise, surprise, Brian Brooks, that we've been talking since middle of 2020 when he joined OCC and Office of the Controller of the Currency. He's going to be there. Michael Saylor is going to be there. And a bunch of other folks that I don't want to say they don't have our best interest in hand, because it would sound almost like I'm trashing the work they do. But let's just say that if there was a line in the sand, you would have to know that they would pick centralized exchanges. They would pick censoring your account. They would pick freezing your funds. They would pick restricting your access. So all this, are topics that should be discussed in this meeting that are just not even going to be a part of the discussion, right? Because the main focus of discussion will be, are these centralized exchanges going to get FDIC insurance? How many amount of reserves are they going to need to have to be in compliance? This meeting today is basically traditional finance opens a bridge towards CFI. If that, I guess that should be the actual name of this. So CFI building bridges with TradFi. There you go. Building bridges made out of paper. What would you call that? House of cards. You could call it. Let me check that this is not ongoing somewhere else, guys, and we're missing it out because it was supposed to start 5 minutes ago. Let's see. No, looks like all the channels. This is gonna be mainstream, guys. It's gonna go in all the channels. Sweet. That's what's up. I'm counting already 5 channels that are gonna stream this, and of course we're gonna stream it too. So you guys, all you 8 of you guys, are gonna get the alpha. I love it. I'm really grateful, guys. Thank you for joining us. You guys are gonna make it. Sadly, not everybody makes it. You know, some people want to waste their time and money talking to the people that got them wrecked. You know, so the last 3 years, no accountability. It's sad. It's not going to be progress if people are not held accountable. You know, there needs to be pain. There needs to be. Anyways, I don't want to have that conversation now, but now it looks like the only pain that we're dealing with is the charts, the pain in the charts. And guys, make sure that you're following this channel. From now on, we're going to be streaming out of this channel more often, especially the weekend stream that we do on YouTube. Excuse me, not YouTube, on Twitter. We're going to start streaming them here. I want to make sure that we have more than 2 places. Right now, we only have 2 places where we're saving this info with this the streams. You know, so I want to make sure that we have them in multiple devices and then the multiple channels as well. Because yeah, we're living in weird times. We're living in censorship land and all this situation where today we have a channel and then tomorrow we don't. So we got to make sure that we're paying attention to what's happening. You know what? Let's do a quick poll. What do you guys think it's going to be the main topics? Main topics of discussion. I already said stable coins, obviously, because they love their CBDCs and controlling us. Then, of course, they're going to say that Tom Emmer is passing the bill. And then, of course, we know that he's going to be in the meeting. So he's the GOP whip. And Republican out of Minnesota. So he'll say, yes, I just passed this bill to prevent CBDCs and all this stuff, you know. So let's see what else they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about the strategic reserve. So that'll be interesting to figure out how they'll tell people that they have all these Bitcoins that they actually have lost in the last 10 years, especially through rogue FBI agents with sticky fingers. They don't understand that we're tracking them. Can you imagine? This is the first time that my FBI agent is tracking me as I'm tracking FBI agents. We're living weird times. We're living weird times. But hey, they give us the rules of the game, so we're just here playing. So obviously CBDCs, and again, they're gonna call them stable coins, or they're gonna probably say payment stable coins or digital cash, e-cash. But I think they're gonna probably focus more on the payment side. So they'll probably just say like, yeah, we're trying to regulate payment stable coins. Then maybe we'll get lucky and they'll actually discuss the difference between digital securities and digital commodities. I know that that's a stretch, but hey, guy can dream, huh? I was thinking about it, and like it would have been around this time when Max was started to talk about Bitcoin on his channel, started talking Trace and Trace Mayer. I thought we had lost him, man. I was like, man, we lost Max. He's going crazy. He's been telling us to buy metals for the last couple of years, and now he's telling us to buy all these little magical dollar bills in the interwebs. I kind of wish I hadn't been listening to those guys, you know, through the GFC, you know, Great Financial Crisis, and I started listening to Peter Schiff when he started doing like the whole Occupy Wall Street. And yeah, I was just thinking at first, I was like, yeah, this crypto thing, I don't know. I think they're coming for it. All right, I guess this is we're waiting. Sorry guys, it's just they tell you an hour and then they, you know, smoke your tax dollar bills and crack and hose. Can't even keep a schedule, for God's sakes. But let's hope that we learn something out of this. By the way, to the hexagons, they're still in the chat. I hope that you saw the live that I did on Twitter. If you haven't, please scroll on my Twitter. Go check it. I called it shout out to the real survivors. And I, you know, like the hexagons, you know, like the real survivors are the hexagons. So I salute you. If you're still here, you're putting the hours, you're putting the time. You're listening to me speak all this nonsense about crypto and like magical digital money and the internet. Or if you're here for the right reasons, you know, if you're here for self-sovereignty and self-custody, being your own bank, protecting your wealth, including your family, so protecting your generational wealth, then you're here for the right reasons. That's why I don't pay for SEOs, because I want the people that are here. I want you 9 folks that are here looking at this live picture of the White House. I want you to make it, and you will make it. I mean, like, there's no other way. There's just no other. There's just no replacing the time that you're putting in. It's that simple. You put in the time, you get in your rewards. And I think that's where we lost a lot of people. They thought that they could kind of, skip or get some type of shortcut, or like, oh no, because Richard's going to buy my bags and the government's going to buy my bags and Donald Trump's going to buy my bags, and nothing replaces hard effing work. Nothing replaces consistency. Nothing replaces getting educated, getting prepared. So yeah, let me keep checking this. No, I'm checking another channel and they actually delayed the start for another 15 minutes. So something must have happened. I'm assuming it's just they had so many people showing up and some of them are coming from all over the world. So I'm assuming they're probably having a little bit of logistic issues, or maybe somebody's showing up late or something like that. Maybe they're having their own behind the scenes first, and then later they'll just have a little meeting. I think this is how Trump's been doing it. He's having this little cabinet meetings. He just meets up with everyone in a big old round table, and then he brings on the press. So at least if we're going by these other shots from AP deleted, so Associated Press. I'm assuming they're down at the White House as well. But that's 15 more minutes of you hanging out with me. So good for you guys. The let's discuss real quick the sentiment change of the introduction of that executive order yesterday. I was disappointed with people's reactions. It's just maybe they don't know how government revenue works, or taxation works, or monetary policy works, but it's just government cannot just create or have one of these like brilliant ideas and then just say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm about to like spend trillions of your dollars, right? So that would mean what? That would mean certain funding doesn't go, right? Certain entitlements don't get paid. So you know what I mean? Like government, and especially the federal government, they have trillions of dollars worth of entitlements and responsibilities and grants and all this stuff that some of the stuff that Elon is going through right now. So the second that they started talking about creating a Bitcoin reserve, I mean, I thought that that's what they meant, meaning what they did yesterday, as in, yeah, grab all the thousands of units that they've been confiscating and haven't sold for pennies on the dollar, like they gave to Tim Draper. Which, in my opinion, what they should do is go back to Tim Draper, give him back his money of 2014 at that price, and then get his Bitcoin back. Or you know what? If they want to be nice, take the Bitcoin back, but then pay him fair value. Pay him for value. Go on the markets, go fud the price, take the price down to 30, 40,000, and then give him that amount. The screw ups that they do always with bankruptcy, and then take the 30 something thousand units. I think that's the right thing to do. I mean, they do it all the time, right? They expropriate. They do a property. What is that? Levies and expropriations all the time. So I'm sure they could do it with crypto too. Why does a multimillionaire like Tim Draper gets access to all these cheap bitcoins when the government was too stupid to know what it had? They didn't know that they had digital gold in their hand. They thought they were like, oh, look, we just took these little digital dollars and we're gonna make a couple $1,000,000. So they thought they were being smart. And that's why some of the smarter ones, some of the smarter FBI agents that ended up being crooked, they knew not to sell all of it. They actually just stole some of it because I guess in their minds it was the best alternative to, I don't know, just maybe they're just trying to get rich. They were just greedy bastards. It could be that too. I'm not privy to their stories, just some of their stories. So yeah, guys, remember we're still waiting. We're waiting for the first White House Digital Asset Summit 2025. Sunday. Um, like I said earlier, it looks like a lot of people were being negative yesterday. They were just probably thinking that the government, since they print their own money, that they can just say, here's a check for $1 quadrillion. We're going to buy 1 million units tomorrow. And now the market cap of crypto goes from $3 trillion to like, 20 or $30 trillion. So yeah, I mean, like, just always use that to your advantage. If you see folks that they complain about things that they're illogical and improbable and would have created all kinds of, it would have had a lot of negative effects, right? Because you can't have the government just print trillions of fucking dollars, even if they're just going to turn them into bitcoins, because they're going to debase their currency. They're going to have all kinds of other trade-offs. Just always remember Thomas Sowell, right? You can't just make all kinds of changes and expect nothing to take effect. You're gonna have trade-offs, and the trade-off is gonna be, sure, the government now owns a ton of property, a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of quote unquote digital gold, but where do you think your wealth is going? It's going down the fucking drain because you're living your life in dollars and in fiat. And if you're not thinking in crypto, if you're not adding more units of crypto away of fiat, you're losing the game. That's why I think that Hex is better than Bitcoin, because right now the Bitcoiners are just playing the game of like, buy it at 80 grand, dump it at 100 grand, and feel happy because they made that 20K. We're playing a different game. We're adding thousands of units per day for just playing the game, because we have thousands of t-shirts staked that are paying us outside of fiat. But that fiat, at some point, we're going to go back and get it. It's just right now it's being inflated at double digits. And of course, our good old friend Jerome tells us that inflation is at 3%, even though eggs at $30 for 60 units. They just don't believe what they're saying. The best example is what that guy just said. Oh, look, it looks like now it's a new inflation. Yeah, no, it's not that there's a new inflation. It's just that they're ignoring the effects of inflation. I mean, if they were to add all the items that we use in our basket, so if they were to use the gas that we put in our cars, the mortgage payments or rental payments for others, the food costs, that's another one that they don't count. So yeah, if they were to count food, that would be chaos, because a lot of the items on food keep getting more and more expensive. So that's a part that I guess we should discuss too, if it was issues of supply, issues of demand. I think I don't think we've been having issues of demand. I think just been having issues of supply. So lower supply has been creating incorrect signals. Yo, what's going on? AP just delayed this stream by 30 minutes. That's kind of funny. Now I'm thinking something odd must have happened. I guess maybe they started the meeting and kept the cameras out, which that's not cool. Let's see here. It says President Donald Trump delivers remark at the White House Crypto Summit chaired by AI and crypto czar David Sachs and administered by the Working Group Executive Director Bo Hines. Well, and I guess the White House was live 45 minutes ago, but it was related to trade, not related to yeah, I guess we were just talking numbers and inflation and manufacturing turnaround. Yeah, it wasn't related to crypto. Oh well. We'll just keep waiting then. Anyways, guys, how's your Friday? We've been doing a few spaces, so remember tomorrow we're gonna have a space. We're gonna do a live cast on this channel as well. But if you have questions, we won't be able to answer them live. You would have to go directly to Twitter. So remember Pulse ID 369. So just like this channel, Pulse ID 369 will be there tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern. And open mic. We have a couple conversations when folks have questions about, Pulse chain onboarding, hex staking, status of the markets, macro, taxes. That's also my thing, guys. So if you know someone that's trying to do their crypto taxes, I can help them find cost basis if they need to file sales and disposition forms, if they need to just do digital forensics, just let me know and I'll hook you up. As of right now, my main competition, Coinly, is charging around $2,000 for the service that I offer per hour, and most of the times I prorate per minutes. So if I can, if let's say you have very few transactions, less than 300, 500 transactions, I'll be able to find your cost basis, your activity, your loss, missed cost basis, because sometimes they'll have the information directly from the CSV files or the exchange, and then it's incomplete. So a lot of people just they ignore it. I hate when they mention this. Let's just ignore it, and not understanding that if you ignore this activity from the IRS, is what I was telling that other tax professional on his post yesterday. Is he's getting surprised that some of his clients are getting audited. They're getting audited because they're ignoring the CP 2000 letters, and they're ignoring the other letters that are coming in the mail directly from the IRS. If you're getting a letter from the IRS, it means that they already have something on you. At least then try to fight it back by at least filing to request a live transcript, right? So you would file to request a live transcript directly with a tax advocate or directly through the now the IRS is getting actually a little bit, they're digitizing some of their work. So now you can just request all this info digitally. It's just they're going to ask you to do they're gonna ask you to verify your bios and all kinds of shit. Like taking pictures and doing the little like song and dance, and they were gonna do like they actually do like a video call. So someone's gonna call you and take video and all this stuff. So I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry. But yeah, it's just all that info. You can request it, and then you know what they know, right? So you want to know what they know, because if they're sending you letters, I mean, most of the times it's just because they already have your info. They know that you were either, you went over the threshold, so you sold more than. Back in the day, the threshold was $20,000. That's when you would get one of these letters. Or now, sadly, the thresholds have gone down. I mean, the thresholds for PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. I mean, there's a bunch of them. Chime. I forgot some of the other ones, but anyways, you get my drift, right? It's just all these now. When you do transactions over $600, which is basically a, I mean, it's basically a cash withdrawal at the ATM. Let me check. Oh, there we go. Oh, this is the one from the White House. Never mind. Got all excited. I thought. Yeah, but this is a live look, so I guess if they were to go in, we'll catch them. Yeah, they're just talking economy. Yeah, we're talking job numbers, and yeah, I think this is going to be looking really nice in 6 months. On the Associated Press countdown is down to 26 minutes. So not sure what happened there, guys. Sorry, because they had set it up for to start at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then they just kept delaying it. But what I'm assuming happened was that they had scheduled it for 1, so they probably been in a meeting for the last hour and a half. But I guess they'll just have a discussion at the end and just say, here, I'm going to buy some hex for the Bitcoin strategic research. Can you imagine that? Wouldn't that be cool? Be like, yeah, we've been checking the tech. We had Elon check some of the contracts. We have some of the robots stake some hex, and I think that it's better than Bitcoin. We can buy it for 1 penny, so we can buy billions of units for a penny instead of dozens of units for 100 grand. I mean, we had a discussion one time with the old Spanish group, the one that was from Hex. see. Down to 22 minutes. I wonder if that was like a change of plans, you know? Like if they all of a sudden they said you know, like, hey, we're not gonna bring in the cameras, or if you know what changed. But anyways, it's good that we keep up with this type of when they do this type of stream, because whenever they then comment on it or do the news later on, you know that they clip so much and then they cut it, and it's good to know what they're saying, what they're thinking, who are they interacting with, how is this going to affect us in the long run. It would be nice if we had I guess at least one of the congressmen there that is pro crypto, Warren Davidson. So if Warren Davidson is there and Timer, we know that he's going to be there. Cynthia Loomis, she's probably going to be there, but then she's, I don't know, after the last conversation that we heard on the Senate, that Senate review hearing, my oh my, she just sounded like she wanted CBDC. She straight up, it's just obviously this is unconscious, right? That she's not like saying, "Oh yeah, I want a CBDC." It's just if they tell us that they want to give all these powers to these centralized entities, that they're going to have millions of dollars worth of assets and stable coins that are backed by, you know, hope and dreams and digital treasuries from the US, then we're just, I mean, this it would be used as just another rehypothecated you know, debased derivative. They can just keep printing. They don't need to have any accountability. And then today they say they have this much, and then tomorrow they have that much. So oh, there's a live chat. That's a live chat. Let me see what people are saying. Oh, that's funny. Just a bunch of people. Just a bunch of people trolling, I guess. All right, guys. They say the new clock went down to 4 minutes, so maybe they know something we don't. Okay, here. Boom. They're live, guys. I don't know if you have audio. Please let me know if you have audio.
Sorry, I'm wearing my orange tie.
Man, this is exciting. Hey guys, please share the stream. Go on Twitter, go on Telegram, and share the stream. I just shared it on the militia, but shared it on Twitter. Rectify says audio is good. Awesome. Thank you, brother. We're just here waiting for the guy that used to set up Janet Yellen's stepping stool. He has a new job now.
Saying this is the widest I could go because we're using normal lens.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Sorry, guys. I think they cut the mic or something.
Thank you very much, everyone. Great honor to have you. I know you've all been working very hard and very successfully. And it's a wonderful place, the White House. I want to begin, is Johnny here from World Cup? I want to thank you for the selection. And they just had a presentation in the Oval Office, and I thought this was such a beautiful, this is the trophy. This is a big deal. The World Cup is the biggest sporting event. And Johnny Infantino is my friend for a long time, and During my first term, we worked out a deal to get the World Cup, and then because of lots of interesting things that happened, I ended up being president. When it showed up, I was always disappointed. I wasn't going to make it. I was going to serve 8 straight. Instead, we did it the hard way, but maybe the more important way. So I will be with you as president, Johnny. So maybe you could just say a few words and show how beautiful the World Cup trophy is. Thank you. Yeah, sure, please. Yeah,
The famous key.
that's a great key.
You want to open it, President? Or shall
Well, you go ahead.
I go ahead? Okay.
I trust you.
So this is the new trophy of a new competition. It's called the FIFA Club World Cup. The 32 best clubs in the world with the absolutely best players in the world. And for the first time in history, this competition takes place in the United States. Opening game on the 14th of June.
Right.
Obviously, in Miami, final on the 13th of July this year in New York, New Jersey. And it's not that, it's totally special because it's a key and because, as you can see, if I manage to do that, it's a bit tricky. It's
Wow.
So this is a trophy. It is a trophy which represents, and that's why I think it's interesting to show this trophy exactly in this tournament, because it represents the past, but it's also projected to the future. There is no other sports trophy.
Why are they talking about football right now, man?
The history of the game, of soccer or football as we call it, the participating teams of the first edition, the stadiums, the beautiful stadiums in the 11 cities in the United States of America where this competition will take place. So at the same time, past, present, and projected to the future. And if I may, President, say another 2 words, and then I let you work.
So, I don't know. They're talking about football right now. I guess they had another presentation. So they're not talking about crypto right now, but we're here. We want to be in the front row so we get to see how the sausage is made. So we're in the behind the scenes.
A year, 70% of that, Mr. President, is in Europe. So imagine.
Yeah, no, they're shilling something else. I'm assuming they're probably trying to do something for the next World Cup. I think they have like a World Cup in LA or something like that. But let's see what type of questions do they have. Let's hope that this lasts. If it's good, this thing has to last 2 hours, man. If it only lasts 1 hour, guys, then know that this just is not what we need.
That coin may be worth more than FIFA in the end. It could be quite a coin, actually. Huh? Anyway, thank you, Johnny. Great job. I just thought you should see this trophy because it's really, it's the biggest sporting event in the world, and we have it here. And we appreciate being selected. Thank you very much. You do a fantastic job. And welcome to the first ever White House Digital Assets Summit. I know that many of you have been fighting for years for this, and it's an honor to be with you at the White House. I want to thank the White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs, Treasury Secretary. This is David right here, in case you don't know. You know David. And the man is doing a great job as Secretary of the Treasury. Scott Bessent, who's right here. Scott, thank you very much. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, wherever you may be, Howard. Hi, Howard. He's doing some interesting work right now with all that's going on. He's right in the middle of it and doing a great job. Thank you. SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler. And thank you. SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce. Thank you, Hester. Acting
Her last name is
CFTC
Purse,
Chairman
Hester Purse.
Caroline Pham. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Well, hello, Tom. Representative Brian Stile. Thank you. Brian, thank you very much. Digital Assets Council Director Bo Hines. Good, Bo. Great job. And many other distinguished guests. We have a lot of very distinguished people around the table. Some of them will be speaking. I want to thank Marco Rubio also, who's right over there. And we have tremendous people very interested in this subject. And last year, I promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world and the crypto capital of the planet. And we're taking historic action to deliver on that promise, as you know, around the table. Yesterday, I signed an executive order officially creating our strategic Bitcoin reserve. And this will be a virtual Fort Knox for digital gold to be housed within the United States Treasury. That's a big thing. The
Yep.
federal government is already among the largest holders of Bitcoin, as you know. Really one of the largest holders in the world, with as many as 200,000 Bitcoin obtained via civil law and various other forms of law, and including enforcement actions. These existing holdings will form the foundation of the new reserve. Unfortunately, in recent years, the U.S. government has foolishly sold tens of thousands of additional Bitcoin that were worth billions and billions of dollars had they not sold them, but they did sell them, mostly during the Biden administration. Not a good thing to have done. From this day on, America will follow the rule that every Bitcoin knows
Mostly in
very
the
well.
Obama
Never sell your
administration.
Bitcoin. That's a little phrase that they have. I don't know if that's right or not. Who the hell knows? Who knows? Who knows? But so far, it's been right. And well, let's keep it that way. The Treasury and Commerce Departments will also explore new pathways to accumulate additional Bitcoin holdings for the reserve, provided it's done at no cost to the taxpayers. We don't want any cost to the taxpayers. In addition, my order directs federal agencies to conduct an inventory of all crypto assets currently held by the U.S. government and determine how they can be transferred easily to the Treasury. Non-Bitcoin digital assets will be held in a new U.S. digital asset stockpile where they will be managed properly. My administration also is working to end the federal bureaucracy's war on crypto, which was really going on pretty wildly during Biden until the election came about. About 5 months before the election, he became a big fan because he heard how many people were in favor of it and how many people love it and respect it. But I guess it didn't work out too well for him. People understood what was going on and paved the way for groundbreaking innovations in institutional finance. Under the Bitcoin administration, regulators strong-armed banks. I mean, they really did. They strong-armed banks into closing the accounts of crypto businesses and entrepreneurs, effectively blocking some money transfers to and from exchanges, and they weaponized government against the entire industry. But I know that feeling also. Maybe better than you do. All of that will soon be over, and we are ending Operation Choke Point 2.0.
Woo! That's huge, man.
You know, some people really suffered. It was ridiculous what they were doing, but in the end, they came around, but they came around for the wrong reasons. They came around only because they wanted votes, and they saw that tens of millions of people were against them because of what they were doing. I also want to express my strong support for the efforts of lawmakers in Congress as they work on bills to provide regulatory certainty for dollar-backed stablecoins and the digital assets market. They're working very hard on that. This is a tremendous opportunity for economic growth and innovation in our financial sector, and will really go a long way. I think it's going to be a tremendous we feel like pioneers in a way of tremendous method of growth. And things are very much tied, and we want to keep it that way. The U.S. dollar
Told
long
you,
into
you
the
Wild
future.
Wild
We're going to
West.
keep it that way. I hope lawmakers will send that legislation to my desk before August recess if they can. And they're very much working with you, and you know a lot of them, and a lot of them were committed right from the very beginning. So I just want to congratulate you all for being at the White House today, and a man who knows more about Bitcoin and AI and just about everything else than anybody, David Saxon. I'd like to have you say a few words, David.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're all here today because of your leadership, your vision, and your generosity. And I really want to thank you for that. We're also here because of your desire to make America great and to introduce a golden age in America, including for digital assets. And we're here because of your love of innovators, or as you might say, high IQ people. We know you love high IQ people. And we have about 30 of them here in the room today. These are the top people in the digital asset industry. And one other thing that I think that you love is legal fairness. This is an industry that was subjected to prosecution and persecution for the last 4 years, horrible lawfare, and nobody knows what that feels like better than you do. So we really appreciate the fact that you understand legal fairness and that you're always willing to fight for the right thing, for legal fairness. You never back down. You stand defiant, even in the face of an assassin's bullet. It's an inspiration to everyone in this room, I think. So it's an honor. So I just want to say it's an honor to work for you. It's an honor to work for a president who works every day to get so much done on behalf of the American people. Your administration is moving at tech speed. It's really amazing. It's actually faster than any startup that I've been part of. Is that your administration moves even faster. So I just want to say thank you for having me be a part of it. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I love working for you. And thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, David. Very much appreciate it.
And now I just want to pass the ball to Secretary Besson.
Scott?
David, so today, when President Trump has signed the executive order to establish the strategic Bitcoin reserve and stockpile, we're going to position the United States as a leader among nations in the digital asset strategy. It's important for the United States to recognize this fact and get ahead of the other nations in the digital age. We applaud the president's direction to use the digital assets already in possession of the nation, and we are going to establish this Bitcoin reserve. We use this authority to augment the asset side of the United States balance sheet. As I've said many times, President Trump is creating assets for the American people, while most past presidents have created debt. And a large part of this asset program can be in digital assets. We are going to end the regulatory weaponization against digital assets. The Biden administration's actions did nothing other than punish innovators. And that all of you have made it here today is really a testament to your fortitude. Much of Treasury's responsibility in this order relates to the tax code and determinations around risk weightings. And I'm here to assure you that we are going to work with the Controller of the Currency, the IRS, and we're going to rescind and amend all applicable previous guidance. And we are going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime. And as President Trump has directed, we are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that. Thank you.
We will use stable coins to do that. He didn't say crypto.
Technology is at the foundation of the Trump presidency. He understands technology, he embraces technology, and he's going to use technology to drive America forward. The blockchain and Bitcoin technology are a key part of that thinking, and embracing that and here today shows how much a leader the Trump administration and our president is. He understands it, he embraces it. As you said, you're a pioneer in this place, and this is where we're going. We're using the blockchain We're using Bitcoin. We're going to use digital assets to pound forward. And Donald Trump is leading the way. Can't be more proud of you today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Helen. Kelly, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is truly a historic day, and as a crypto founder, I couldn't be more proud to be part of your administration. You're moving at the speed of tech for sure, and I will just say it's a great day to have the war on not just crypto, but the war on innovation done. And under your administration, we are truly going to enter into the golden age. And I'll just say, as the administrator of the SBA, small business is a tremendous network that crypto can be deployed against. And so the SBA is open to crypto. So I look forward to working with all of the leaders in this room to advance your efforts here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much. Tom, please. Well, Mr. President, I want to say thank you. I want to thank you for the amazing team that you put together. I want to thank you for David. I mean, this kind of a meeting, no one in this room could have envisioned this just
Gonna talk about the CBDC
You are
law.
the one that has the vision. You're the one
CBDC
that
bill.
said, we are going to do 21st century finance right here in the United States of America. I've been doing this for 9 years. It is amazing how far we've come, and that's a credit to you, Mr. President, and your leadership. And God bless you for doing this, because it's going to make a huge difference with everything else you're doing. And by the way, Americans love it. They're going crazy. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm surprised he didn't mention it. I was going to show his bill because it hasn't been passed
Does
yet.
anyone want to say a couple of words? Cameron or Tyler, do you want to?
You're very shy in front of
Actually,
the
Cameron, I think you said something earlier that I thought was really profound. You said that a year ago, you thought it would be more likely that you'd end up in jail than at the White House. You, not to put you on the spot, because you didn't do anything wrong, but that was the environment a year ago. But do you guys want to say something? Either one.
Sure. That was actually Tyler who said that. but it's
Sorry, I still get mixed up.
But yeah, we never thought that we'd get attacked the way we did in our backyard after trying to do the right thing for so many years and always trying to raise the bar with respect to regulations. So it's truly wonderful to see how things have changed and how the pendulum has swung back in the way that it has. And we've always felt that the U.S. should lead in Bitcoin and crypto, and it's ours to sort of lead and win. And it's just wonderful what President Trump has been doing with this, and we look forward to working together. And thanks for inviting us, David, and setting this up.
Thank you. Thank you both. Please.
I was just going to say, thank you, Mr. President. Cameron takes credit for a lot of my things I say, so it's not the first time. But the U.S. won the internet, and the U.S. should win crypto. So thank you for your leadership on this.
Thank you both very much. High IQ individuals around this table. That's what I always say. We need high IQ. So thank you very much. Would anybody like to say anything? Please.
I just want to express my deep gratitude for the seriousness with which you're approaching our industry and how you're actually helping guide it in the right direction. I work with many central banks in other countries, and when I was working there, I was wondering why I, as an American citizen, can't help the United States financial system reach this higher level that the world is on course towards generally. And so I'm very grateful that finally there's been a new level of kind of common sense and adoption of these ideas. Me and the other people in this room do believe that the crypto, blockchain, Web3 infrastructure is the next iteration of the financial system. And I think that the US should have its leadership position continue in that new financial system. And I'm very, very happy to see people like David Sachs, Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick taking this very seriously with their time, and very grateful them too. So I'm just overjoyed to see this. And I think it is a big part of how the US can continue its role in the global financial system. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I thought it was very important that we stay in the front of this one. This is a big one. And as you know, China is pushing forward and very strongly as usual, but we're way in the lead as we are in AI and other things, and we want to stay there. So I thought this was very important, and we have some brilliant people sitting around this table. And it's an honor to have you involved, but we want to stay at the forefront of everything. And this is a very important day in your lives. I know you worked, some of you, very long before people really understood what was happening. And so I congratulate you, but this is a big day. Being in the White House is a big deal, and you have great support. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Thank you, media. Thank you. Please.
All right, so I guess that is that. That's disappointing. And yeah. How do I sound not negative right now? Oh shit. Ah. Sorry guys, we just got hit with sugar, we got hit with old school. That's hilarious. Anyways, I guess I thought they were gonna talk. They were gonna say a little bit more, and that ended up being there a little bit of a circle jerk. But it's still good. I think the main thing that we should focus is what Rectify is saying here. Where Rectify is saying feels pretty surreal. They had the president finally talk about crypto positively. So yeah. I guess I was fantasizing with 2 hour stream here that they could identify certain specific topics. I guess we got them all pre-launch the discussion. They talked about adoption. They talked about stable coins, and they talked about Operation Choke Point 2.0. So we've been covering all those topics for the last couple of months. We know that Operation Choke Point 2.0 started in March of 2022 with Executive Order 14067. So if you want to do the research, we've done a video on this maybe 2-3 months ago, and if not, then just look it up under the Federal Registry. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I thought that they were going to talk a little bit more, that they were gonna I don't know. I guess I would have liked the way they were going. Let's say that they asked the Winklevoss twins, that then let's say they would have talked to Saylor, and then they would have talked to I guess I would have liked at least to listen to Garlinghouse from Ripple, and then also Bram Brooks from, former OCC commissioner. So he used to work under Trump, under Mnuchin. So Mnuchin was the Treasury Secretary, which now that position is I can't think of his name right now. He was just sitting right next to Trump. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be good. It's positive. So I guess what we can take by saying was that it. Yeah, I think so, brother. They definitely took us into the. They even hit us with the 1980s technology there at the end. So, but yeah, the positive thing is that they're confirming that, hey, we don't want to be involved in continuing Operation Choke Point 2.0. I think that's something that we had discussed a couple of weeks ago when we said, yeah, if Harris would have won, it would have been very easy for her to just continue the policies of the previous administration, and then all these changes that Trump was trying to do with Elon Musk and then with some other people in his cabinet, he would have not been able to do. So I guess that's the positive part, and we're just here for the ride. I see this as a very positive thing. As far as the pumping of the bags, which people were thinking that they were just, like I said, write a blank check and they just said they were going to buy billions and billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Me personally, I was expecting this, guys. I talked about this when he mentioned it through the Nashville Bitcoin conference. We said it because we said, hey, if he just says it on a specific timeline, hey, I'm gonna buy all this Bitcoin that's mined at a specific time frame to load up to 1 million units, it's way too high. It's just, imagine the changes in liquidity, and right now he would have to just load up. So he would have to either debase the dollar so much that it would crash the dollar, or I mean the price of BTC would just keep going up and up and up, because at that point all the countries around the world would say, all right, well, if the US is going to buy 1 million units at whatever price point, so they'll print, quote unquote, print as much money as they need to, or just inflate MM2. Well, so yeah, I guess I'm getting exactly what I was expecting a whole 3 months ago. I'm getting way more though, because me personally, I wasn't even thinking that these type. I'm in the camp of rectified. Think here this way, thinking I wasn't expecting this to happen. Not in the White House, not in the first 2 months of Trump taking office. Sure, I remember telling the guys I wouldn't be surprised if they cover this in the first 2 or 3 years, but no, this is a main focus of what they're doing. I think they're trying to inflate the debt, and then they're going to use stable coins to do that trick. I mean, we've been talking about this since we did that video about we call it did the US launch a CBDC back in March of 2020. Some of us, we think that that's what happened, right? Not because maybe that wasn't their intentions, but it's just that's the result that they got, right? They were able to tell the banks that they could go to zero reserve requirement in March of 2020. In the summer of 2020, Brian Brooks of OCC and former worker at Circle and Coinbase, he then starts working at Office of the Controller of the Currency. Certain moves starts to happen, certain changes happened that didn't get disputed. Like we talked to the community that day, because I remember like the same commentary period that we used to share with Gary Gensler. We would also share them when it was Brian Brooks, and when it was Steve Mnuchin at the Treasury, and when it was Powell also, he was at the Fed back then. So when those conversations were happening, we try to have conversations, try to send people the right way, tell them, yo, this is what's happening. We, as a joke, we called it the CBDC that you always wanted. Being like sarcastic. And then we did another one called the RBDC, so the retail bank digital currency that nobody's talking about, because we said, oh, it looks like the Fed and Powell, they don't want to get involved with a CBDC. So what they're going to do is they're going to give the powers then to JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, Citibank, Bank of America, and then those guys, they launched their own stable coins, which is going to be pegged, quote unquote, pegged to $1, right? Because it's just going to be pegged to a fiat unit of account that can be modified, can be printed. It might or might not be backed by something, and it can get rehypothecated. We can have all kinds of fiat seniority, as they call it. I call it fiat fuckery. But yeah, that's what we have in our hands. So guys, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm glad that you were here to see this 20 minutes. I guess we waited 2 hours to see 20 minutes, but you know how it is. You gotta delay gratification to get your reward. So I feel that it's good. It's good that we see these type of interactions. We learn. We're more prepared than the average person, and then we anticipate what's coming, and then we attack. We're ready to go. So guys, I hope you're having a great one. Hope you're having a great Friday. We might have another stream, but then this one is going to be out of Twitter. So either it'll be a space later tonight if we get a couple of the guys. If not, we'll just do a regular live. And like I always say, guys, catch us on the next one, and we'll see you around the block.